Hello people, I am Penros776 and well, we're looking at double Mythic Heroes banners today. I'd appreciate it if the banner didn't contradict me while I was doing intros. So Legendary and Mythic Heroes, and here's Eitri, who is just absolutely insane. A humble scholar of Sage. Yes, we're not falling for that, Eitri. We've just seen your 3-minute long rant about how you're evil. So Eitri, Fire Season, not Mythic, Legendary. Get that through your head, Penros. Legendary. Because apparently this Mythic Heroes banner is a Mythic and Legendary Heroes banner. Flying green tome, as we expected. Well, we didn't expect the Legendary part, but honestly, what is it that makes them decide that Eitri gets to be Legendary, whereas Oda, categorically just a dude. Oda's Mythic, sure, okay. Loki isn't anything, because Loki came out before that, apparently. Yeah, I couldn't possibly tell you. Her weapon is the same as she had in the plot by the looks of it, the Grim Broker. For once it's just ordinary letters, so I don't actually know how to pronounce it. Grass attack +3 enables Canto 2 during turns 1 through 4. If you initiate combat with not adjacent to an ally, inflicts attack res -6 on foe during combat, and unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. Interestingly normal as far as weapons go. It's literally just guaranteed follow-up attack res -6, Canto 2, and attack +3. That seems like a lot in the context of really old units, but these days a lot of things have just so many effects stacked, so I'm expecting her PRF skill is going to be insane to make up for it. She has Dragon Fang, okay, attack res solo 4, alright, and Divine Recreation. Okay, here it is. At start of combat, if foe's HP is greater than or equal to 50%, inflicts attack speed defense res -4 on foe during combat, reduces damage from foe's first attack during combat by 30%, and boosts unit's next attack by total damage reduced by any source, including other skills. Resets at end of combat. There it is. Okay, this is actually, I think the best example of something that is the same as this is Ice Mirror, the original Ice Mirror. In fact, this is almost exactly the same as Ice Mirror. Of course, Ascendant Fume's Ice Mirror is better because Hardy Fighter triggers it twice, but you're getting 30% damage reduction, neat, and then turning that damage reduction into offense. Plus, of course, attack speed defense res -4. Neat. A couple of ways you could play with this. Interesting enough, that does work both phases, but she does look like mostly a player phase unit in the sense of she has initiates combat trigger on her weapon or solo condition, and well, while attack res solo probably does work pretty well for her, I'm not really sure you want to necessarily be running her solo as like a tank against anything except maybe like tomes. So as a flyer, she's going to get hit pretty hard by bows for obvious reasons. I don't remember her defense being too great, and of course her res is pretty good, and she does attack res -6 on foe as well, but she looks like, at least on the defensive side, she wants to be fighting tomes and that's it, because of course she has no close counter either. But on offense you can probably do a lot, so maybe drop the attack res solo on the A slot for something like an impact instead would be my ideal, because then the other thing is at the moment she's getting a guaranteed follow-up attack, so on initiation she's taking a hit back with 30% damage reduction, which should hopefully be just enough for her to live, and then she's hitting again for that amount plus for reduced damage. But if that extra second hit doesn't kill, now suddenly she's being swung back at with a second hit that's not reduced at all by the enemy, probably. So run an impact is my advice to try and counter that. Of course, there's probably other builds as well. There's definitely other builds as well. There's no unit in the game who only has one build. But yeah, a lot of the pairing of the beast slot as well, interestingly here. So I wonder, honestly, if there could be builds even that use a different weapon on her. Because as good as this one is, it's basically just giving you Kanto and that follow-up attack. And attack res -6, but basically every inheritable weapon is giving you a decent amount of stats. So unless you're like really using the Kanto or the follow-up attack for something, and where the follow-up attack is important, of course, you need the follow-up attack to get the full might of that divine recreation out, but I'm just saying there's options, alright? I mean, the C-slot attack res Ryan 3, the rain skills are pretty much the best options that flyers have. Great to see it. All in all, I think pretty useful unit here. Definitely very interesting that she's legendary. So I guess looking at this from an arena standpoint as well, sure. This unit can probably do arena things. That's more or less it for Eitri, except see what they've done with her animations. Well, actually, we saw the animations in the story. She rides the gun. It's a very... And of course, she's a pair-up unit, of course, being legendary in that. So what, are we getting Mythic Fafnir as the second half of this banner? Is that what's happening? No, that's the Mjolnir strike music. That's Thorr, War God. Oh, heck yeah.
My name is
Thorr.
True strength.
Love how you can just see those abs through the middle of the art there. And here's the kit. War God Mjolnir. Has to be separated from just regular Mjolnir, of course, because Mjolnir is already in the game and it's not a hammer or an axe, as it may be. It is, in fact, a tome. Haha. Funny. So, Thorr gets to have the War God Mjolnir, which, okay, accelerates special trigger, cooldown count -1, effective against armored foes. At start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, grants attack +6 to unit during combat, inflicts attack -6 on foe during combat, unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack, and also, if unit is not adjacent to an ally, neutralizes foes' bonuses from skills like Fortify, Rally, etc. during combat. 12-point attack swing is the first big thing here, and the slaying effect, accelerating special cooldown, we got there, finally. Slaying is actually one of the hugest effects in the game, I'm not gonna lie. So that being on there, and that massive attack swing means, if I remember correctly, Thorr had pretty high attack as well. I might be wrong, but I might also be right. This is potentially a Gale Force unit. Because look, you've got special trigger cooldown count -1, so that's bringing you down to, what, 4 cooldown. You're getting a guaranteed follow-up attack, and you're getting a massive attack swing. You can probably cross the threshold to actually run Heavy Blade properly on this unit, which is huge for a Mythic. And also, armor effectiveness. Armor effectiveness is big, and she's green as well. So you're looking at breaking saved units potentially, and the green means that even against Hector, who will normally be running armor effectiveness prevention because it's in his PRF, potentially you've still got a chance at actually cutting through that at least a bit. Bonfire, yeah, we expect this to be a high defense unit as well. Attack defense push 4. Interesting that that's in the pool here. Again, attack defense push, actually a kind of difficult skill to get your hands on, just because every unit who has it is also kind of a unit that you want to just use. And I guess Thorr here, technically no exception, as an offense mythic, you still want to use her because she's giving you that extra score, and she has those bonus seasons. So if you do get a 4, I would not get rid of your last 4 just for attack defense push 4. But hey, it's good that there's at least more ways to get it. Flow Guard 3. This is a new one. Flow Guard. If unit initiates combat, neutralizes effects that prevent units follow-up attacks, and it inflicts special cooldown charge -1 on foe per attack during combat. Only highest value applied does not stack. Of course, it's cooldown manipulating things. You can only get one of those effective at once. But still, this is nuts, actually. Flow Refresh, for reference. Flow Refresh was a flyer and cav only skill, and that was huge because it was the first piece of access that flyers and cavs had to half of no follow-up. The important half for killing things. Neutralizing effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks. And Flow Guard looks like it's the same, except with one key difference. Flow Refresh heals you 10 after combat. Flow Guard inflicts guard. So not only is it essentially better than Flow Refresh, because that 10 healing after combat, a lot of the time you weirdly enough don't want that, because you're using it on offensive like Gale Force strategies where you want to keep low hit points for Wings of Mercy, etc. The healing actually actively hurts your ability to keep Wings of Mercy chains going. Swapping that for guard is big. But also, for any player phase unit, it's better than guard. Guard, in the B slot, one of the really early skills in the game, and notable for having a really tough HP condition to meet, something like 80%, if I remember correctly. Which means that even just chip damage from various sources can be enough to knock you out of guard range, and at which point you've got a kind of useless B slot. This has no such issue. So long as you're initiating combat, you have guard. So for any unit that can run this, heck yeah, Flow Refresh just got power crept to hell and back. And then in the C slot, World Breaker. Oh hell yeah. Grants special cooldown charge +1 per attack during combat to unit and allies within 2 spaces. That's nuts. That's... oh baby, that's nuts. That's Joint Drive Brave Lucina, except it's better, actually, because Thorr can still trigger this even if she is completely alone, because it always grants special cooldown charge +1 per attack during combat to unit. There's no getting around that. But then, it grants that to all allies within 2 spaces. That's... imagine like Heavy Blade, right? Except it's better than Heavy Blade, because Heavy Blade only triggers on your attacks. This attack triggers on all attacks. This is pure, like, pure special acceleration in a drive support range. That is crazy, crazy good. That is honestly one of the best supportive Mythic effects we've had, which honestly means that for me, Thorr is going right near the top of any Mythic tier list I'm making for the time being, because that is something that's usable on all sorts of teams. Like I was talking about Gale Force earlier, you send her in there, your Gale Force units don't have to worry about meeting Blades checks anymore, they just need to double, and they're getting the most cooldown they can. But if you're running enemy phase strategies as well, you can use her as a support for your enemy phase units, and it's the same as what Brave Lucina would do, but on a Mythic slot, meaning that you're not wasting one of your very valuable normal unit slots for that support effect. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thorr absolutely living up to the hype, even though we've like barely seen her in the actual plot. She just seems so strong. I'm very excited to get my hands on her. Speaking of getting your hands on her, let's just see what the rest of the banner is. Or well, no, actually animations first. Bet these are going to be good too. fighting a red Fafnir, taking some damage, so her res might actually be pretty good, but big hefty chop there, and against an armored unit, 135. So they're double green, by the way, and we're also getting Bramimond, legendary Corin, Plumeria, who's mythic, legendary Dimitri, Dagger, who's mythic, legendary Sigurd, Fallen Dimitri, Note, legendary Micaiah, Muspel, and that's it. Okay, so one final pause here to discuss the colors. Green is just a nutso bonanza. You've got not one, but two offense mythics for scoring, and also two new units in the green pool. That is great all round. My rule for like pulling colors on legendary and mythic banners has always been you do not pull a color of orb unless you want all three of the units in that color, and this is like absolutely yes. If you want mythic scoring, then this is mythic scoring in a like pretty much as best as you're ever gonna get it. Two mythics in one, and then the third slot being Eitri as well, who is probably going to be useful in some places just because that B slot is still like kind of intense. That's a really good combination. As far as other colors go, well, colorless, legendary Micaiah, legendary Corin, Bramimond. Bramimond, probably one of the stronger defense units for actually fighting that denying of like drive effects, that sort of thing on enemy teams is still super strong. Legendary Corin, really powerful unit, and legendary Micaiah as well, also a really powerful unit, and if I remember correctly, they both have pretty good fodder too, so it's worth bearing them in mind. I'd honestly be happy pulling colorless. Red, Muspel, really strong again. He's got really interesting skill set. He provides a drive damage aura, which is something that is really difficult to get your hands on, just raw damage. Plus, again, like with all of these units, really good fodder. Plumeria, as a offense mythic and a dancer, is someone you want to stock up on a lot of copies of for score if you're playing Aether Raids, of course. Legendary Sigurd, I think you should have at least one copy of Legendary Sigurd. Legendary Sigurd isn't really like a super must-pull compared to the rest of this banner, because I mean really you only need one of him and his job is done. Extra merges don't really add anything onto that, but still, I'd call red a pretty good color too. And then if we go on to the last one on the list, blue. Blue's kind of like the weakest here. You've got Note, who is defense mythic, really good, but again, not necessarily super useful for like getting merges on necessarily, and her fodder isn't awful, but it's decent. And then the two Dimitris, I mean, if you want Odd Tempest, this is more or less the best shot you're getting at grabbing a whole bunch of copies of Odd Tempest. So actually, blue is a great color for Odd Tempest, but aside from that, Dimitris in general haven't been the strongest units around. There's probably some good use for them, but I haven't like seen Dimitris do anything particularly impressive recently. But then definitely not awful units by any stretch of the imagination. So blue I might consider skipping, but the other three colors for me, I'm going to put a lot of orbs into this banner and try and pull like really efficiently. As for you guys, tell me what you're doing, and as we finish up here, yeah, I want to hear if you're pulling these units, who you're going for, what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.